there's kind of everything in the IBCP, from like academic, so if you want to go to university, there's also the vocational if you want to go straight into a job, and then there's all the extra things like the community and service, which kind of help you to be a more kind of rounded person.
I've developed skills which I wouldn't have developed through doing normal A-levels, and I've also developed a career that I'd like to do in the future, which is what I'm going to study at university.
Well, I went to an IB school, Sevenoaks School, so we were aware of it from when we started. So when I started in Year 9, I knew that that's what I was building up to, and that is the main reason I went to the school. So I knew that it was the kind of course that I really would not take over my life, but I'd really have to commit to. But I also knew that it suited me better in the way that you could have all sorts of different subjects. You didn't just have to have 3 subjects, you could spread out across all the different faculties, and that really suited me because I enjoyed loads of different types of subjects. So I was excited for that, and I was excited for the challenge predominantly, and I was also excited because I'd seen all the sixth form doing it, and I'd seen it from the 3 years that I was doing GCSEs, and I knew that this was what it was all building up to. So I knew that it would be tough, but I was excited.
Probably actually Young Enterprise. That was kind of one of the extra opportunities that we could have chosen to take, and we did really well working as a team. It was really exciting starting our own business, and we actually did quite well like in the competition, but we learnt a lot from it as a group, working with people.
My fondest memory, well, within the sixth form, would be the Holland trip that we went on in December. It was great to see MCS's artwork and artwork like that in person. And it was just a great experience really with the teachers as well. It was a great time.
Like, I've made some really good friends, but we'll definitely keep in touch. But yeah, there are a lot of good teachers here that I'll definitely miss, and I'll always remember them.
Probably be sad to leave behind the teachers, because we've, especially in sixth form, we've created a real bond with them, and what they've managed to achieve for me and for others is great, and I don't really want to leave them behind.
Well, I think with the main thing with the IB is because you're studying so many different types of subjects, it means that you are learning different skills as well as different course content. So the fact that I had a chemistry lesson just before I went to an English lesson, and I'd be doing lab work, and then I'd be working on an essay. So it was totally different types of skills. And then I'd be heading off to maths and then geography, where I'd be doing field work or something, and data input. So you're learning a whole range of skills, and it's not just focused on what your strengths might be, but actually being pushed. So for example, chemistry was my weakest subject, but it meant that I still had to learn how to collect my data. I still had to learn how to become observant in experiments and understand things from a scientific background, which surprisingly you find a lot of links between your subjects. So there were times, because I studied both geography and history, that I realised a historical event also came up in my geography lessons because it would affect world politics, which would then also come up in a poem I was studying because it would help with the context. So by being able to study all the different subjects at the same time, I think you find links that you wouldn't think were there, and you find interests that you didn't think you'd have. But the main thing with me is studying the IB was when I really fell in love with my main subject, which is English, because the IB course for that really pushed me in a much more personal way than I'd been pushed in previous years. So for GCSEs, it seems like it's more across the board, and you have to learn a whole range of skills, but when you come to IB, I felt like it was more relaxed and much more independent work. So a lot of the tasks I was given for both coursework, for essays, for things like that, I could come up with my own questions, I could come up with my own texts, choose my own poems, and for example my extended essay, I actually really enjoyed doing it because I could come up with the question entirely on my own and choose my own text to do. It sets you up a lot better for independent research because you are given time on your own. Like, we had a whole day to do our extended essay on our own, where you go to the library, you research it by yourself, you come up with your own thesis, and you only have an academic advisor, you could call it. So I think in that respect, I really, really fell in love with my particular subject.
I'd probably say assembly, maybe Monday morning or Monday afternoon assembly, probably.
Maybe some of the extra revision sessions we had to do for IT. They did drag on a bit. There was quite a lot of stress at times, but I know that everyone in sixth form, doesn't matter where you are, you'll have the stress put on you, the pressure, but yeah, I won't be sad to leave that behind.
I think the biggest thing was independence. So a lot of the stuff that I had to do was independent research, independent essays, things like that. And it also helps you discover your passions and be able to discuss those with your peers. Because everyone is studying similar subjects and you have to study a science, a language, things like that, it means that you can relate a lot better to a lot of your friends. So my two best friends were both, one's gone on to study medicine and one's gone on to study engineering, which is totally different from English, but it meant that when I was struggling in any of my science subjects or my maths subjects, I knew who I could go to, and at the same time, if they were struggling with English or with French, they knew who they could go to. And then we also understood a lot better where each other's interests came from. So if I had a really interesting English lesson, I knew that I could talk to my medic friend about it, and she would still gain an understanding of that because she had studied text and she did understand it in that point of view, in the same way that I studied chemistry. So when she had an interesting chemistry lesson, I could relate, admittedly not to the same extent, but I could relate. So I think that's important, is being able to have those discussions, and that helps you become a lot less dependent on the teacher, but find other ways of gaining your research and your knowledge.
We've invested heavily in the sixth form in 2017-18, with more courses on offer than ever before, more students than ever before, and of course we've converted the sixth form study centre. The centre will consist of three main areas: a silent study room, a group study room, and an area where you'll be able to eat. The silent study room will be equipped with computers and desks to support focused individual work, providing an environment where you can really focus on the activity you are completing. The group study room is designed for collaborative work, a space where you can work together on a common task or a group activity. This area will be equipped with group tables and chairs and have 2 plasma screens to which you can practice and view presentations. The small eating area will have long tables laid out, like Hogwarts, a toaster, a fridge, a kettle, and a microwave, etc. There's also a UCAS and reference library going to be installed in the sixth form study area, only for use for the sixth form. The careers advice will be based in the sixth form building, and we have signed up to something called pathway training to provide you with even more support in deciding on your next step. I would like to wish you all the very, very best of luck in your results in August, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you all into the sixth form. Very best of luck, have a lovely summer.
So I've received offers from 3 universities, and I've received 2 from 1 university, from Bournemouth, Kent, and I've decided to go with Kent as my first choice and Bournemouth as my insurance offer.
So I got 5 offers, all of them that I applied for, but I put Durham as my first and then Cardiff as my insurance.
Well, at first, they should research what the IBCP is, and so they can get an idea of what universities to get into, and then also look at the courses and see if they're a pathway which could get them to a career in the future or get them into university.
Take every opportunity you can, because you get given so many at the academy. I can't tell you how many opportunities I've been given, from even if it's just someone coming to speak in assembly to actually going out and doing exciting things like we went on a trip to The Hague, that kind of thing.
I think the first thing to remember is that it is a challenge, but it's designed to be like that. So even if you feel like you're struggling, I can pretty much guarantee everyone else is too. And especially because you're not just going to be studying your core subjects or the ones that you enjoy the most, it is a challenge in keeping that focus and concentration and motivation in all your subjects. The second thing I would say is understand that you can't be lazy. You can't miss a day of school and expect to catch up the next day, or you can't miss a lesson and think that you can catch up over lunch. It's such a fast-paced course that you'll love it because you'll be so challenged and you'll be constantly moving, you won't be bored, but at the same time, you have to understand that you commit yourself from the start. So you can't be slow, you can't have lessons where you can't be bothered, you can't be half asleep in a lesson, because when you don't understand something, it will come back to haunt you later when you're revising or something. So I think just keep moving, keep on top of your work, and just keep going for it.